All right, so we're trying to go live again. Welcome back to the stream. Hopefully, you guys are having a fantastic day. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another Fortnite Battle Royale live stream. The second one of the day, technically, if you count the 40-minute massacre that I had earlier, which was just a nightmare. Hector, Oliver, Callum, welcome to the stream. What's up, Nathan, RG, Instinct, how you doing today? Jonathan, the Flaming Hawk, Peanut Man, welcome back to the stream. Did I fix it? I did fix it, guys. The audio is officially back. The only sad part is I'm pretty sure I didn't fix. Okay, so let me go ahead and go full screen with you guys. So this was the capture card. I just bought this capture card 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. I ordered it off of Amazon Prime. It came in like 2 or 3 days, just like Amazon Prime does. It's the brand new 4K Pro, and I was really hoping this was going to be able to really make my streams look a lot more smooth and a lot more professional. Even though the streams already look pretty smooth, I was hoping this was going to really help. So I ended up buying this, only to figure out that audio doesn't work with this when I'm playing full screen games. So I don't know what's going on. What's up, Kaylor? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. What's up, Andrew? What's up, Pedro? So I bought this, and now I just have my old capture card back in because for whatever reason this one doesn't work. So I'm using the sort of the younger brother of this, which is just the regular Elgato HD60 Pro, which doesn't go all the way up to 4K, and I wouldn't even be streaming in 4K, but apparently just because that capture card's beefier, it would like make things smoother or something. I don't know. But anyways, we're back. Ant S comes in with another $1 donation. Thank you so much, Ant. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, so if you guys missed the live stream that I did a little bit earlier, we tried to go live and it was just completely screwed up because for whatever reason, audio wasn't working. So I had to go put in my old capture card and the stream. It was really, really frustrating, but now we're back and everything's working fine. Hopefully, I'm glad you guys are back into the stream. I got something quick to eat, fixed my capture card, shaved because I was feeling a little unclean, and now we're back. And now we're ready to hop into a solo game. So, did I turn IT guy? Did you turn it off and on again? Yeah, Simu, exactly. Did you try unplugging and replugging it back in when your internet goes out? Did you try power cycling your modem? Oh my god. I got a DM you, man. Lol, yo, Aquatic. Let me check my DMs right now, bro. I got you. Hey, yo, what's up, Griff? Welcome to the stream, my man. Yeah, make sure you guys go ahead and drop a like in the stream if you are new, if you have not done so already. I apologize for the issues. I'm sorry I had to spam you guys with notifications. Some of you guys might have gotten 2 notifications for the live streams today. I apologize for that. We're back and we're doing fine. And I'm sorry I had to spam you guys like that. Hopefully that wasn't too frustrating. Aquatic, let me find your DM here, man. I gotta charge my phone here too. I think I'm gonna end up getting the brand new iPhone 10 here pretty soon. I don't know. I'm not too excited about that, but I'm probably gonna end up doing it. What's up, Chris? How you doing today, my man? What's up, Carl? What's up, MLG? What's up, Flexible Spark? How you doing today? Pure Wax. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing, man? What's up, Devin? Gotta go retail. Nice skin? Well, thank you. I like the skin a lot too. I think it looks pretty dope. Let's get it, man. Let's get it. I feel like this glider would go really well with the other outfit, the one that's sort of like the Bloodhound one. I feel that'd be really, really sick. I'm just trying to go to this far roof here. Is anybody else going for this? Stay away. No need for you to come here. The blue AR? Hell yeah, it is. Sick, my guy. Hey, he's got a shotgun, so that's really neat. Yo, what's up, Prestige? He's got the purple tack, too. Love the music. Yo, thank you, Miles. Shoot. I would really love some mini potions right now. Alright. Was it Hitman? Okay, we're good. Shoot. Damn. Feel sad, man. That dude went flying. Whoa. No, give me that. Give me that. Where was he? Is he inside the house? I can't tell. Audio hype, man. We're in regular solos right now, guys. We may play some Blitz later. I'm not sure. Oh, there he is. Why would you repeat that, man? He's out back. Hold on. He's out back. Got him. Give those. Oh, we got a pump here too. Oop.
Welcome. How tough are you?
What's up, my guy? What is up? Yo, Link fan just sponsored the channel. Thank you so much, Link. I appreciate that, brother. Yo, let's get some Link hype in the chat. Welcome to the stream, my man. Thank you for your sponsor. Enjoy your custom emotes. Enjoy your double coins. Double the chances of winning giveaways. Thank you for the support, brother. Yeah, there was another hunting rifle up there. I might as well pick that up. Might as well take that. Let's get some sponsor hype in the chat from my man Link. Thank you, brother. Guy in here. Is he in the garage? I honestly can't tell where he is. He's got to be inside. Ooh, look at that chest. Holy God, that's a nice chest. What's it, Team Black? Yikes, that dude took off a lot. Oh, he's right there. There's another one. I'm tempted to go get that because that guy's got a med kit. There's a 7th kill right below me somewhere here. Bazinga! And I make it right here. Beautiful. What's good, Carlos? What's up, Derek? Hey, can I get a shout out? Yo, Scary. Huge shout out to you. Welcome to the stream. Alright, do I want the new shotgun? That's the real question. Let's give it a shot. I've used it a little bit before, and I wasn't extremely pleased with it, but we'll keep giving it a shot here. I think I'm actually going to take the medkit over the hunt. Ooh, actually, am I? Yeah, first game on, we might as well. Might as well take it, just to keep ourselves warmed up. Make sure we've always got that backup heal. We'll see how it goes. Is this the other capture card? Yeah, Nintendo JJ, it is the other capture card, man. I mean, it's not the most disappointing thing in the world to have to use the old one, but I really wish I could use the new one. He's so cool if we could. Hey, what's up, Mickey Mouse? Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Jordan J donates $5. Says, just got off work and I'm glad I could catch a stream. I still have yet to get a win. Hey, Jordan, you know, man, times to just take some practice, brother. Ooh. Some shots straight ahead here. This guy's close. so weak. Whew. Got him. Got him. Damn, you did not have a whole lot of good stuff. Jesus, there's so much stuff I want to take that I don't want to give up, though. I almost want more people to run up on me so I have an excuse to use a heal or something. There's impulse nades. There's a sniper. There's a grenade launcher. I just have to make a decision. I'm dropping the... I'm doing it, man. I dropped the med kits. It's okay, everybody. You can relax. All right, let's get to the safe zone. Use double heavy, just like the double pump. Yeah, but the pump is so much more powerful. Use the pump, and it's just... It does that first initial shot of damage just because it's so powerful. You can't double pump it, but it's so much better. No, definitely got to keep the pump. Definitely got to keep the pump. Pump's way better than the new shotgun. In terms of damage. You get that first damage shot off, and then you switch to the... That's when you switch to the new shotgun, or the tac. That's always been the strat. Unless you're going to double pump it. But I don't want to double pump it for right now. I may do it later, but... I gotta get better at it. What's up, Aaron? I do really want to play some Blitz later today, though. We've already got 8 kills. That's not bad for our first game on. Pretty solid. What's up, Derek Lopez? How you doing, man? What is that? Somebody camping in that? Feel like somebody might be camping. Oh. Let's go, baby. Pro Hen has played with Ninja? Dude, I would love to play with Ninja someday, man. I would absolutely love to play with Ninja, but a little out of my pay grade. How did this guy get to top 20, man? Look at all he had. Yeah, he is definitely a new player for sure. Yo, Link fan with a $1.11, brother. Thank you, my man. He says, Sup, Hennis, love your COD zombies and Fortnite videos, bro. Keep up the good work. Thank you, my man. I appreciate that. I'm going to be doing zombies tomorrow for a lot of you guys. I know a lot of you guys are going to be hopefully pretty excited about that. Yeah, I haven't done zombies in a very, very long time. So I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of excited for it. It's going to be pretty nice. What's he doing? Ah, shoot. We have a jump pad? Oh, we have a jump pad. I didn't even realize that. That's lit. Alright, where'd this player go? Oh, still up there. What the hell? Of course, it wasn't reloaded. What are you doing? How? I was a little bit to the left, I think. Dude, this player, man. Oh, God. Gotta go for that headshot. Gotta go for that headshot. Just barely missed. Oh, come on. Are we seriously all out of wood? Okay. You know where this guy is? Yikes, dude. That guy wants to fight for sure. Far to the left. I need more wood. Really wish I had more wood, man. Hey, what's up, Philip? How you doing today, brother? Welcome to the stream. I want to take the high ground on this guy, but he kind of has a general idea of where we are. He jumped out, didn't he? What the hell? Excuse me? What's that guy doing? Oh yeah, he sounds a good shot, dude. Quick peeked me. Holy God. Ah, shoot, dude. I had an easy shot on that guy. I tried to run by him. I thought he was trapped in there. Must have been able to edit out. Shoot. Damn, damn, damn. Did not play that well. All right, let's go ahead and play some Blitz. What's the best way to get trap kills? You gotta really focus on the bad players, man. Really gotta try to focus on the bad players. If you try to always go for the good ones, like trying to trap, like you really gotta be confident that they're a really, really bad player. Bob Cena donates $50. Holy crap. Yo, let's get some Bob hype in the chat. Bob, thank you so much, man. Holy Jesus. I don't know if have I ever seen you in the chat before? Let's get some pro dono hype in the chat. Damn, man. Thank you so much, dude. What's up, Fatality? Tack or heavy shotgun? I've kind of gone back and forth recently, man. Like, it's a new shotgun. I don't know. I honestly think I'm definitely going to stick to being a pump and tack person. I don't think I'll really be somebody who consistently uses that new heavy shotgun. Because you can fire the tack shotgun faster. So I feel like that's kind of the whole point, right? Because the pump fires slow, but it does a high amount of damage. So you kind of have two shotguns from both ends of the spectrum. You have a shotgun that can deal one shot of high damage. And then you pull out the tack, which can shoot faster among all three shotguns. And gets a lot of damage off too. And it's weaker than the heavy shotgun, but not significantly weaker. And definitely not weaker enough to overcompensate for the higher fire rate. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Daniel? You don't need to shoot faster if you hit your shots. If you hit your shots, you kill them faster. You can fire the tack shotgun faster. That's my point. What's my favorite Whit Lowry song? I don't even know. Maybe Kindness for Guards, just because that was one of the first songs I ever heard by him, and it's like hits right in the feels, man. Hits you right in the feels. Justin with a $1 donation. Thank you so much, Justin. I did way too late here. Somebody already been up in here? 'Cause that would have some ammo with it usually. Bob, once again, man, thank you so much for the 50. That's no small donation, brother. Ooh, there we go. Was it Brother's Life? What's up, Fear Baller streams? Yeah, I live in Maine, man. Yes, I do. Not nading me, bro. What's up, werewolf? That was his last nade, too. Try to check out some of these other houses. We gotta be aware because it's his blitz, though, too. What's up, Ice? How you doing, man? Actually, it's so stupid to drink this, but it's so stupid to leave it too, because I don't need it. I'm just gonna drink it. Blitz needs to become a permanent game mode. Addy, that's literally what I'm saying, man. This game mode is so much fun. Look how much wood I have right now. That's the coolest part about it. I think, anyway. Like, the fact that you can get this much building material for somebody like me who's, like, pretty build happy. Yeah. Yep. What's up, AK? I'm gonna try to stay around here and loot as much of this as we possibly can until I'm forced to leave. I don't have a jump pad yet, which really stinks. Maybe there'd be one in here. Especially in Blitz, jump pads are so important. You're my favorite YouTuber? Hey, appreciate that, man. I donated 10 bits. Why don't they show up? Bob Jeep, that's because I require, in order for the donation to come up on screen for bits, you need to donate at least 100 bits, which is $1. Just so people don't spam like 1-cent donations and they come up like over and over and over again, you know? Because I've had people do that in the past and it's just annoying. You know, if you keep donating 1 cent and you get like a personalized message on screen and everything. Yeah, I'll take that. Blitz is the worst game mode? Really? Really? We could check the burger place. I'm just gonna leave now, though. Get more towards the middle of the safe zone, I guess. With this house. So many slurps, man. It's crazy. They added so many heals to this game mode. Where do I buy merch? Link is in the description down below, man, for my merch store. Shop.prohennis.com. Shop.prohennis.com, I did. Why do you stream at night? I'm definitely going to start streaming more in the afternoon, man, because this is not good for my sleep schedule. I also want to try to get morning streams in. I was thinking about this earlier, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys saw... I'm going to go ahead and mute the music here real quick, because I want to talk seriously about this. I don't know if you guys saw the tweet from... that's been going around on Twitter. You guys follow Chaos X Silencer. I saw him tweet out about it. Keemstar tweeted out about it. It's this whole YouTube publicly admitted, to not notifying all your subscribers when you upload a new video or start streaming. And that for me was just like, when I heard that, it was like we always kind of knew it, but to have YouTube publicly admit it and then try to defend it was just mind-boggling. I thought it was just unbelievable. So what YouTube does is when you click the subscribe button on a channel, if you only click the subscribe button and you don't have on notifications, what YouTube then does is YouTube will then determine what content they think you, as a creator, would like to watch. Not based on what you think you'd like to watch. YouTube sometimes won't even notify you or won't even show content uploaded by a YouTuber you're subscribed to in your sub feed. Because YouTube knows you better than you, right? That's essentially what YouTube's saying. YouTube says, we know you don't want to watch all the content from a specific channel. So if you subscribe to me, sometimes you'll be notified for streams, sometimes not. Sometimes you'll be notified for videos, sometimes not. If you have on notifications for a channel, if you have on notifications, then you will get notified for every single piece of content. Then you will see every single thing I do, whether it's a video or a live stream. But if it's just the sub button, then you'll only be notified for some things. And that's YouTube's way of protecting you against what they consider to be spam. That sucks. You just used your contract. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I screwed up. That's essentially what YouTube's new thing is. They'll only notify you for some content, not all content. So, pretty much where I was going with that is, there's only 9 people left? What the hell? What's up, Glowboy? What do I think about BO4 having a Battle Royale mode? I think it'd be interesting for sure, dude. I don't know how well they're going to be able to do it, but I hope they do it well, for obvious reasons. Battle Royale games do insanely well, and for Call of Duty to do that, like, you know, the largest gaming franchise in history, implement a good Battle Royale, that'd be really interesting to see. I wonder what they'd do. It's going to be really hard for them to combat Fortnite, though. It's free to play. You know? There's a lot of things that Fortnite's doing right, man. Notice how I played that last gunfight, too. You wait for the guy to get a little bit closer to you, because he's just spam building, right? He's just going to use all his material there. He's going to get really close to you. As long as you're confident in your shot, you wait until there's a certain distance between you and the other player, and then you know you can just seize the high ground from him. And then once you're directly above them, then they're screwed. They can try to build out and build around you, and as long as you're a good player, you build fast, you'll always be able to maintain height advantage. That guy completely screwed himself over. Build a little bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. I missed the blue AR, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I just remembered. Yeah, it's whatever, though. It's all Gucci, all Gucci. It won't make that big of a difference. Yeah, we'll definitely pick that up. Where did he just go? You just jump pad the hell out of here? Seems like kind of a strange strat. Oh, where is this guy gonna go? Ooh. Justin with a $1. Thank you so much, man. Oh, I already got that, I think. I think they were literally all the way around here, weren't they? Oh, no. There's 10 of them somewhere. Where do they go? Oh, are they in here? Yeah, here they are. I don't know what to do, man. I really want to get back up there. There's only 4 people left, too. Listen to all the chests that still haven't been looted, dude. That's crazy. How did I not place that there? What is happening? Mom! Whoa. Somebody clip that. What the hell was that, dude? Oh, building right over there. Bro, what was that? Oh, he's literally right here. Oh, yikes, dude. Ah! Last guy's right there. Can you not, dude? Please. I'm almost all out of building material. I'm screwed. Build! You imbecile! He's dead. 100% he's dead. Has to be dead. Let's go, dude. Oh my god, man. What a struggle that last game. I didn't get a single kill. Last like 3 people that were alive, dude. GG. Holy crap. Dude, what was that glitch with the jump pad? What the hell happened there? Only 4 kills. Damn. That was weird. Master Killer, thank you so much for the 110 bits. I appreciate it. He said, Pro Hennis is my favorite anime. Yo. Honestly, that means a lot, man. That means a lot. Thank you so much. All right, Bear just sent me the clip. I got to go ahead and watch this. Check out this clip, guys. This literally just happened in the live stream. What is that? What is happening? Mom! Somebody clip that. What the hell was that, dude? Oh, man. That literally made no sense. We just... gliding along the ground like that doesn't make any sense. Thank you very much to all of you guys tuning into the stream. If you guys are new, drop a like, subscribe. Appreciate all the good love. All the good love and all the support. Thank you all so much. Make sure you guys turn on post notifications so YouTube doesn't decide what content you see from the channel. You get to decide what you see from the channel. Nice outfit. Thank you. That's the dance I should have done at the end, man. I should have done that dance. Yo, Morgan's display cabinet. What's up, man? Welcome to the stream, dude. How do I donate, by the way? Link is in the description down below, man, if you want to donate to the stream. Always optional, but very much appreciated. Mom? Mom, what's happening? But Master Kill, yeah, I got your 110 bits, man. Hacks, man, definitely hacks, for sure. I did that all on purpose, 100%. 100% all on purpose. All right, I'm gonna go factory. What is that dance? I forget what it's called, man. It's brand new in the item shop today, though. It's so sick. I love it so much. What's up, Marcus? Hey, today, Cyber Boy. That was really difficult for me to say your name. I be riding through the town. Hey. Sick drop, dude. You have 6 impulse needs already. Holy crap. 3rd chest, and now we're just barely getting an AR. Insane. What's good, pro? Yo, what's up, Carson? Already almost 300 wood. That's just crazy. Huh? Who did it? Excuse me? Excuse me? Oh. Okay. Just gonna go for this guy. What the hell? Where did that come from? Stop it! Oh my god. I don't know where those guys are to my side. See where everybody else is. All right, more mini potions over there. Good. I don't really need that. I will take that pump, though. I need a shotgun. I am more than likely not going to win this game, because we have 0 heals right now. King of the Bears comes in with a $1. Says, so when are we going to do sponsor squads? You guys heard that, right? All right, it's not at me. Whew, thank God. And somebody's already been up in there. And there's a guy right there. This is really sick. This is why I love Fortnite. just hope he goes away. I realized he'd already come down there, man. Shoot. What's up, Alexandra? How you doing today? What's up, Josh? Bear, you are so, like... I appreciate your donation. But God... keep asking me the same god darn question. We could do... Well, I mean, I guess we could do Sponsor Squad soon. I don't know. I'm just... When I'm in the mood to play solo, and then you guys just ask over and over and over again. And like, I don't, it's not that I don't mind playing with you guys, it's just like, I like playing solos too, you know? So, just you asking me over and over and over again, it's just annoying and it's weird. Your eyes all I know, man, I know. That guy was gonna one-pump me if he had attack or anything. What's the new dance? Oh, this is what it's called. Jubilation? This dude is so confused. Like, what the f is she doing? Gotta hit him. No, I don't have. Oh, shoot. I don't have my best mates. I have floss. That's such an awesome dance, dude. That's so great. Flippin' sexy, dude. I love your videos. Yo, thank you, Aiden. Appreciate that, man. I'll try to go factory again. Blue G Fuel Cup equals big shield potion. They go hand in hand. It's pretty much the same thing. You got a win yet? Yeah, we already got a win, Kev. It was only 4 kills. It was in Blitz. I don't know. The last 3 yeah, when we were top 3, I think I might have been even top 5 or top 3 or something like that. We ended up getting no kills. Just everybody else ended up dying to each other, and then the last guy ended up dying to the storm. It's a feel sad moment. That's a potion right there. I don't need that. Damn, that headshot as he's falling. That sucks for him. Oh, we did pick him up. What's up, Lisa Wall? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. No chest in there. Might be a chest down below. Ooh. What are we gonna do about this, bro? Mini potions right there? Actually, yeah, let's take those first. What's up, Ricky? How you doing, man? Damn, dude. Storm's already closing in. We almost have more kills than we did in that last Blitz game. Oh, man. fantastic. Hurry up and win. All right, I got you, brother. I got you. That's what's nice about this blitz mode, though, is the games go by really, really fast. Like, look at, we're already having to move for the storm. What's up, Swagger? Sean also came up with $1. Elite Bro says, what's your favorite Post Malone song? Yours is Fall Apart. My favorite Post Malone song. Fall Apart's really good. Psycho's really good. Congratulations is also really solid. I don't know, man. There's a lot of really good ones, I think. Oh, no, dude. I almost nailed it. Why? Hey. Whoa, whoa, whoa. There's a med kit down there, I think. Holy lordy. Oh, man. No, shoot, I was late. Sorry, though. Still good fun. Really? Died from fall damage, dude? Are you kidding me? I need a med kit, like, really, really badly. Here it is. Oof. We don't have that far to go. We should be alright. What's up, Daddy-O? How you doing today, Ruby? Welcome to the stream. We already have max wood. Don't want anything in there. Why everybody have such bad loot, man? There probably was a better AR and I just missed it, unfortunately. All this colossal loot, man. It's crazy. Gotta find more people, though. The fact that we only still rock a gray, man. I got a campfire, so that's nice. I don't have a jump pad yet, though. I wasn't paying attention. My mind is just spinning right now. I probably looked right at a better colored AR and just missed it. Was it Victor? Guess I could just push to the drops, I guess. I don't really have a better plan than that. If you guys are new to the stream, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're new as well. Appreciate all the love, guys. Y'all are dope. We're close to 500 likes in the stream. Appreciate the support. Guys are insane, man. Ooh. I feel like I'm so exposed right now. Dink! Oh, you don't spam, man. Seem like the type of idiot to have traps in your base, I had to be sure. Huh. Not a single better AR. That's all he had was a scoped AR. Crazy. Shoot. Yo, can you chill? Am I just missing all the good ARs, dude? Ouch. He's right above me. Good play, man. Good play. I never realized he was right there. Chris Semple with a $1 says, yo, man, just wanted to tell you that I love your videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much. Was that a build fight going on there? That was well played on his part. I thought he was going to be focusing on the guy below him. What's up, Jamie? Welcome to the stream. What's good, Peyton? What's up, Fullest? What do I do with coins? So you guys can use coins to enter into giveaways that I run at the end of every month. Hennis, when I try to sponsor, it says Pro Hennis does not allow sponsorship, but I want to sponsor. On YouTube, it should allow you to sponsor, man. There shouldn't be any issues with sponsorships. I subbed. Thank you very much, Fullest Tomato. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, GG's. Owen also came up with a 2 and it says, how you doing? I'm doing good, man. Thank you very much for your $2 donation. Roof comes up till the lights go out. Oh, here we go. God's plan, baby. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to go tilted. I gotta get better with my landings too. I feel like I land too late a lot of the time. Landings are such a huge thing in Fortnite. If you can land first, and get to that weapon first, that means everything at the beginning of games, obviously. What's up, Wolf? Zombie Stream's tomorrow, Bang. Zombie Stream's gonna be tomorrow. Look at all these people landing before me. I just gotta be doing something wrong. There's like a lot of people landing before me. Trap somewhere over there. Talk about hella awkward. I can't walk in there either because that's not my trap. not gonna bother. Hopefully that'll force him to go over there. I surely wanted to get killed by the trap, dude. All right. That was not hectic or weird at all. Go get this guy. Really, dude? No way, dude. Shoot. GG's, man. Oh, man. Yo, rip that guy with the impulse nade, bro. So, tell me somebody clipped that. Tell me somebody clipped that, please. God damn, these games are intense, bro. Where was the bottom of that dude's base? Did it just get blown? Here it is, down here. I was gonna say, because I need some heals. He doesn't even have any. What is that, man? I got the campfire, I guess, so I should just pop that. I got 2 campfires. Okay, so this should be able to bring me up to 100. I only got 30 seconds, though, so I'll have to just use all of this and then hope for the best. What's up, Paradox? What's up, Brainy? What's up, Justin? I hit the bell. Hey, Kellen, I appreciate that, my man. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you guys are enjoying the live stream, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate all the support, guys. Thank you all so much. Getting a lot of FPS lag right now. Gotta keep playing smart, man. New heavy shotgun? I'm not gonna grab the new heavy shotgun, man. I got the purple tack and the green pump. That's still my favorite shotgun combo, personally. Until there's a dude in here or not. If I can save the campfire, I'm gonna save it. There we go, there's a med kit. What's up, Peyton? How you doing? Welcome to the stream. Hey, Nixon comes in with a $3 donation, says, I love your streams, man. You're better than Ninja and Myth. I disagree, man. Isn't even mine. Eight people left. I should have just built up a wall right there. I didn't really want to take any damage from that guy. I'm taking, yeah. I'm gonna take the RPG instead of the nade launcher. Cross my mind there for a sec. Think about that though. If we're a split second too late, crossing that, we're dead right there. Actually, wait a minute. You have a sniper? No, he didn't. Now we get to take both of these though. That's elite. Because that guy didn't have any heals either. Grab this jump pad. Or this supply drop. Hopefully it's got some goodies in it for us. There's somebody above us. That's where I'm gonna be really pissed. Ooh. Whoa, what the hell am I trying to build? Oh, God, dude. That's what I mean by building too build happy. I can't be doing that. Where'd this guy just go? No, I lost him. I legitimately lost him. I had the easiest kill right there of all time, and I tried to build like an idiot. IQ. I have no heals. No! Oh my god. I'm dead. Shoot, no! Ah, no, dude. I didn't realize the storm kept moving in. God damn it. I choked that. RIPs, dude. Ah, I choked that so hard. That guy did a good job, though, of just sitting underneath my base. And as long as he doesn't push out and try to siege me or anything, then I'm not going to be able to get him. Feel sad, man. Rips in the chat. What's up, Noel? How you doing today? Do I listen to NF? Yes, I do listen to NF. I absolutely love him, dude. NF is an amazing rapper. Actually, I may have... No, this is G-Eazy. I got NF in my playlist, though. Multiple NF songs. This is not an NF song. And a lot of people who like NF probably don't like this guy. But I like them all. What's up, Pedro? Yeah, the campfire would have been hard to throw down there. As soon as he sees me... I mean, I could have thrown it down, but the storm was coming, too. Would have been hard, man. Would have been hard. GG's, though. What's up, Josh? How you doing today, buddy? Oh, the Jibulation emote? Yeah, the Jibulation emote's awesome, man. I literally just bought that today as soon as it dropped. That's such a simple emote, but it's so cool. No, Oliver, I don't like NF more than I like Lil Dicky. Lil Dicky is my favorite rapper of all time, by far, man. Not even close. What's up, Devin? All right, where do I want to go? I guess I'm going to go... we'll go Salty Springs, actually. I don't think we've gone to Salty Springs at all. No, we must have, right? Salty Springs is like my favorite spot to go. We're bound to have gone to it at least some point in the stream. What's up, Mystical Gamer? How you doing, man? That would have been our second win of the day, unfortunately. I think that guy was really weak. No, he wasn't really weak. When we got to him, didn't he have like 88 health and 50 shield or something like that? That would have been really hard to kill him. What we needed was a good RPG shot on him, and we just couldn't. That's where he just stayed underneath the base perfectly. Actually, this guy just snipes me. He's nade launching. He got a nade launcher. How lucky is that guy? Alright, he's getting that chest. Ooh. Yeah. Alright, I'm sorry, I gotta mute it. You actually gonna get me? No way. Listen. Can't build there. You should hear me drinking this. Yeah, drink it, drink it, drink it. Dude, we hit him right in the head too. He had shield on. GG's. Nothing much I could have done there. We could have just tried to rush out and kill him, but they must have destroyed an outside wall or something for them to be able to get in. Now we can listen to this song. I just gotta be able to listen to those situations. What's up, the kid 13? Hating today, Carnage Panda. Mr. Beast sucks? How can you possibly think that Mr. Beast sucks? I'm gonna change my outfit. I've been rocking with the same outfit forever. That's probably my issue. I've been dying because I've been playing with the same exact thing forever. Oh, man. Okay. We got so many skins, dude. Oh, my God. So, yeah, the Wukong skin, I feel like would look really... Yeah, but this and then this backplate. Yeah, that does look as sick as I thought it would. And then we'll rock with that. We'll keep the bat sickle because that looks really, really cool. Get those. Almost level 88. What's up, Owen? If you guys are enjoying the live stream, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate all the love, and have on post notifications so you never miss a future stream or video. Have I heard Freaky Friday by Lil Dicky? I have. It's when that song dropped, I didn't even know I needed that in my life until that song dropped. That song is amazing. This is the NS XXX. Did I say NS? XXX Tentaction? I've heard of that guy, and I've heard a couple songs by him, obviously. I don't know. It's just not really my style of music that I like, man. Do the new emote? I got you. What? I wonder what outfit would look the best doing something like that, because that looks ridiculous. Do I like Imagine Dragons? Yeah, I like Imagine Dragons. I don't know if I'd like go out of my way to listen to them, but I like them. They're good. What's Billiard's channel called? I think it's just Billiard YT. Billiard YT. I want to start streaming on Twitch more consistently. That's really what I was getting at. Remember earlier, guys, when we were talking about like how broken YouTube is and how they only notify some subscribers of some content? That makes me want to stream on Twitch more often, man. I'm going to start doing morning Twitch streams. What is happening? Kenny! Oh my god, I'm so screwed. Hold on. One more hit, thank you. Oh my god, you had a med kit. Kenny, I'm so sorry that I'm not answering your call right now. Please leave your name and number after the tone and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Yeah, you know, I'm just gonna crawl back in here. More safe. Oh my god, dude. I don't know how I got that. How do you get your keyboard to not be heard on stream? It comes through every now and then, man. But I'd use a noise gate. That's the biggest thing. Alright, hold on. Let me call Kenny back. I'm busy. Really? Really? I don't know why he tried to call me on Telegram, dude. I've never experienced that noise in my life. That traumatized me. It's like, what the hell is happening? He tried to call me on Telegram. I've never received a call through there before. And I don't even think I have my mic properly set up through Telegram. So I think it's all screwed up. Oh boy, this should be fun. Yeah, that's right, boy. I swear, man, Blitz is the most intense game mode of all time. Where am I? What is it? What does that mean, where am I? I'm in my condo, Kenny? Message me and says, where are you? Hello? On. Hello, ding-a-ling-a-ling? Hey, buddy.
Hey, what's up, my dude?
You scared the living bejesus out of me. I've never gotten a call on Telegram before. I was like, what is happening?
Just send you a little one of these.
Oh, God. Yeah, a little one of those.
Bro, just want a blitz squad with 13 kills?
Damn, okay.
Let's go, boy.
That's pretty solid. Pretty solid. I'm in the middle.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? I'm in a solo right now. So you can play a quick solo if you want to. Oh god. Actually, hold on. I just got shot
That's
at.
fine. I'll chill and talk to chat, man.
Yeah, be patient here. I might have actually just died. Yeah, I'm getting sieged. Kenny, I'm scared.
You got this, dude.
Oh, he actually, Kenny, I just got outplayed. Outplay of the century.
Are you dead? Or?
You're gonna die with me, man. You're gonna die with me. You're gonna die with me. Die. Let's go. I got him. Oh, thank God. Thank God. I got him. I knew I was gonna lose the fight, so I shot a grenade launcher in the little 1x1 we were in, and I killed him. I'm a legend. Exactly how I planned on that going. What's up, pro gamer? I sent you an invite, Kenny, by the way. Did Kenny go AFK, actually? He might have gone AFK.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Oh.
I'm here. I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here. I'm
okay,
here.
okay.
Did you die?
Yeah, I died.
I figured you were.
Well,
I knew I wasn't gonna have to wait long.
Alright, cancel and leave party. Just kidding. Just kidding.
What happened?
I
Where'd you go?
I memed and canceled party, and then I...
Oh, you got me good.
I
We're
got
playing
you, I
squads.
got you. With who?
Are we in squads?
No, we're in...
It says squad.
It says
Okay.
duos for me. When you
Yeah,
die, but you
via
get a grenade.
Telegram? Yeah, Josh, via Telegram, my dude.
Via Telegram. That's an afterlife medal right there that I just got. If it was COD.
Yeah, dude, COD rewarding every death.
Every single kill you can get.
Every single kill is a medal, dude. Everybody feels so happy.
Oh, I gotta see if somebody clipped that impulse grenade kill I got earlier.
No, I can't use that.
Yeah, easy impulse nade kill right here. No way, dude. That was perfect. Alright. Where are we headed, Kenworth?
You pick it, I stick it.
Alright, I want to stick you at Pleasant Park.
Probably the worst place to go, but that's fine. I gave it your choice, your choice. Alright guys, hey, can we get some resident sleepers in the chat? Just a little prefix for this game. Thanks guys.
Unbelievable how much I'm bullied. I think my stress levels increase whenever I stream with Kenny.
Yeah, well, you know when I carry you to 5 wins when the new shotgun update comes out and your stream's lit, yeah. Stress levels increase by 1,000,000, you're right.
Yep. Always.
I'm literally like the worst person. I'm sorry. I love you, dude. Let's get some W's here. There's a guy close to you.
Okay.
Never mind, I lied. He's gonna break out. About to Kobe him. You're dead. Okay, we won. Let's go. But where are the people at, though?
That actually whiffed that shot.
I'm coming over to you. I don't have anything.
What? Oh my god, I hate how delayed the pump
yeah.
shotgun is.
Come on, baby. Get him, shotgun.
Okay, I'm actually out of ammo. I'm actually out of ammo, Kenny. Kenny, I actually ran out of ammo.
Well, that's unlucky, dude. Makes you feel any better. I just pistoled this guy.
How
He
did
just
wait?
died.
That must mean that I didn't pick up the extra ammo. How did I? Oh my god! And all I'm getting is heals right now. Edit. Oh my god! I literally hate this. Nope.
Are you okay, Dad?
Kenny, I'm literally.
Guy in your building. Guy in your building. He's chasing you. He's chasing you.
Yep, I know. I know.
Well, Hennis, kill him,
Oh my
you
God.
silly guy. Is he dead? Did they run away?
I'm okay.
The boy, the myth, the legend. Boom!
I don't have any more building material. He's outside, Kenny! Oh!
I got you, Dad. I would never let you die.
He's going up top, I think.
Hey, watch this. Later!
He's just running up top. Got him. Whew.
Well, howdy-ho! Let's go, baby.
I'm okay.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm okay.
Good job, man. Well played,
I'm
well played.
okay.
All right, 2 guys ran to the mansion, like up the hill away from us.
Okay.
So we'll go track them down and get them the kills.
I got you. Do you have an extra? Do you run over an extra AR by chance?
I sure did not.
Oh,
For an extra one.
I see.
But there is a crossbow here, and I'm taking it, and I'm about to crossbow these nerds at the mansion. Oh, what the? There's a... Oh, okay.
Oh, it was just ammo. That's all it was. Do you need it?
Oh, I
Because
forgot
I don't
this is a
have.
blitz.
I don't have an
Resident
AR.
Sleeper.
I only have 45 wood right now. It's a feel sad, man.
I want my wood back. You ever seen Zombieland?
No.
What?
No, I have not.
What do you mean you haven't
What do
seen
you?
Zombieland?
What do you mean?
I need that sound bit so bad. That's gonna be my top donor.
I was gonna say I gotta make that a donation sound.
No, you can't. I
Why
just
can't-
said I'm doing that. I'm getting it copyrighted. See ya. Have to pull a fine bros on you. You ain't doing nothing. What's the reaction?
Wow, about to pull off fine, bros. Only the OGs
Where did these freaking
understand.
nerds go, man?
They might have gone to your left. They might have pushed southeast. Oh no,
Okay,
I hear him. I
actually,
hear him. I hear him.
console user.
I hear him. They're still in here. I just got crossbowed.
Down, bottom. No, yeah, bottom. Going up, Tony.
Hold on, I'm pushing in. Top floor.
I died to a console user! Help me! Yep, I'm leaving.
Double shot that guy. How much health did he have? How much health did he have? 88. No, that was the other. Wait. Shoot, I wish I saw the other guy.
I just died to a console player. Okay, my defense, he had aim assist.
The dude was camping in a bathroom, Kenny. He was sitting in a bathroom.
We just died. probably to
Oh
the
my
worst players
god,
on the
Dallas
planet.
Forbes, thank you so much for your one, man. He says you lost your V card? No, I don't take L's, man. I don't lose.
That was Roman Atwood?
Wait, what was the name of the guy who got killed by?
Roman Atwood. I'm just kidding, I don't know who it was.
Was it literally? Imagine if it was.
Okay.
Imagine if you got killed by a daily vlogger.
Yo, he's been, I actually follow him on Twitch. I like Roman Atwood, dude. He's entertaining. He
No,
always has
I-
a positive message.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got nothing against him, yeah. I just thought that was funny.
I would love to die to Roman Atwood, dude. That's a video right there.
You feel on? Yeah, that's probably a 2
Killed by
million.
a vlogger?
You stream sniped him.
Yeah.
right.
Stream Sniper and died.
You
Stream died.
get to make the call because apparently Pleasant
We're
Park was
not
the wrong
going
answer.
Pleasant. That's not the call.
Yeah, you're right.
Love you, dude.
What a stupid call on my part. How silly of me to go to Pleasant Park.
What's the opposite of wood? Do.
JC Cooper, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub, man. 4
opposite
months
of
in a
wood.
row. Let's get
Air.
some Cooper. Did you just say the opposite of wood is air?
Well, wood's a solid material. Air is not solid.
I don't know if there's an opposite of wood. Chat, can we
Yeah, it's
Google
air.
that, please? Can we Bing that?
Let me Google that for you.
Can somebody go-
I missed!
Can somebody go Bing that, please?
I think you said bang.
No, Bing it.
I'm gonna go bang that out real fast. There's nothing better than a striped sweater on a holiday.
I got a meme pad.
I'm hungry, Hennis. What should I eat, man?
Do I'm gonna answer that in an appropriate way. I just knocked somebody down. LMAO.
With a tarp. Dude, that unicorn is so bad at this game, dude. You know? You know what I'm saying?
What's up, Kenny?
Oh, what? Nothing, dude. I'm just talking to myself.
That's what I thought.
Sure, you're killing everyone, dude. Holy moly. How many kills you got? 10? 30?
Just 2.
That works. I'm keeping a burst over a regular AR. I don't know if this is the play.
That's the meta, dude. I just got crossbowed. Hello? Mom?
Hit the camera.
Is that you?
Not me crossbowing you, no.
No, I heard footsteps.
Nope, not me either.
Oh. I see him. Literally right outside here. Kenny, I'm going for these guys.
Okay. Oh boy. That's the man. You can't do it. No one can. He's our man. Did you kill him?
Yeah.
Good job, my dude. This is how
Need the other
we
guy's
do
loot.
it.
Oh, I need, yeah, because I need heals right now. Actually, hold on, I need to go hide.
I got a med kit.
I got bandages and I got bandages and a slurp, so I'm fine. I'm just gonna heal up right here.
Okie dokie, artichokey. I'll see you later then.
People running up on us? Oh no, that's you. I think that's you. I think. Yeah.
They're breaking stuff on us. I hear them.
I hate you.
Oh, what are they doing? They're here.
Kenny,
Oh,
you're
boy.
trolling me.
I'm panic. Oh, I'm panic.
How many mats do you have?
Roundabout.
I literally have no mats right now. I have a jump pad by the way too.
Oh, right here. Right below us. In through the window like Bruce Wayne. Surprise, son!
Wait, what do you mean? Where'd you put down the jump pad?
Top of the roof. What do you mean? Are you dead?
No, I'm fine. These guys are way out. I can't make that jump. That's so aggravating. There we go.
White man can't jump. Where were they?
They were literally down by the big tree right here, west.
Alright.
Yeah.
I
Oh
see
no.
him, he's a
Yeah.
bush.
Yeah. They're both. One's a bush. Oh my god, are you good? What is he mapping me with? He had to have had the new
okay, my
shotgun.
dude?
Bro, he was mapping me with a shotgun or something. That was attack. That was actually attack. Insane.
Are you sure it wasn't his Deeg?
Insane. Best player
I'm
NA.
getting
No,
shot.
he was firing it way too fast to be
I'm
a
getting
D.
shot. Let's go back up there.
Do you have any meds, by the way? Or potions?
I sure do.
A potion?
I got some magical potions. Speed pots.
You
such as
are
speed 2. Good luck,
so
you're gonna be so
beautiful
fast.
with your magical potions.
Hey, where do you think you're going? Hell, I'm coming in behind you. Woo!
I'm just gonna follow you.
Where is he? Where is he?
Ah! He's on the ground.
Through the window.
I don't have any more building materials, so I just have to follow you.
Hello, Zach Dev. Goodbye.
Actually, can I have some? How much building material do you have?
Here, take another mini. Take another mini.
I'm fine. I don't need one. I can hold it onto it.
I'll
if you
take it
need me
anyway.
to. Okay.
How much building do I have? Not much, like 80.
Okay. I can't build anything. Literally, I can't build
Not
anything.
looking too good for me, bud. Wahoo! Back up we go.
I literally just have to
Proud
follow.
of you.
Oh god.
Just follow me, my dude.
I was gonna say,
Victory.
that's all I can
Ooh,
do.
big show down here.
Oh, say forte.
You don't say, eh?
Oh, hear footsteps in the building here to the northwest. That's all you, Kenworth.
Where at?
Building right here, northwest. The tall one. You. Kenny? The impulse needed me in the
What's up,
opposite
my dude?
direction.
I'm bad. I see him, he's up top. Hiya! Frick. Try it again. Hiya! I made it. Oh my god, he's right here, Tony! The frick? Bye. What?
I can't jump down there because I don't have any. I don't have any building material.
Oh my god. Get punished.
All right, I'm coming. Oh god, I didn't take any fall damage right there. Oh, you hear those shots over there to the north? All right, I still need building. I still. All right, I'm just gonna farm. I
Here,
just.
take some brick.
God, you're gorgeous. I'm literally incapacitated right now. I started off this game so hot. How did I kill anybody without any building material?
What?
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 How-
Holiday, who did he?
Exactly. How did they kill them? Yeah, they were over here
Is
somewhere.
that the scythe? I want that, dude.
The scythe?
Is that what you had, the scythe pickaxe or whatever?
No, that's the. Oh my God. It's the the bat sickle.
Excuse me?
The bat sickle?
Let me see it.
That's what it's called.
That's not what I'm looking for.
Oh,
Okay,
right here.
How did that guy not die? How'd that guy live?
Oh my God, Chug
look at
Jug.
that Chuggy.
Yeah. Do you just want to hold on to it, or do you want to take it right now?
I mean, I'm good.
I'll take it right now. Actually, I'll take it. Right now.
I mean, should you?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Are you sure?
I'm just gonna take it now. It's worth it, Kenny. Trust. Kenny, I'm not gonna be able. I'm not gonna be able.
Done drinking it. Let me know when you're almost done.
Okay, I'll be done in 9 seconds. 8,
3,
7,
2,
6,
1.
5, 4, 3. I hate you so much. You are actually the largest troll on the planet. I'm gonna get sniped right now, and then I'll be able to drink it.
No, you're fine. You're fine. No one here.
That's mean? That's what I'm saying, Kev. That's what I'm saying, dude. So, Kenny, I think I'm going to start streaming on Twitch. You know, because YouTube
Why?
doesn't notify my subscribers when I go live.
It does. They just have to ring the bell.
Uh,
And click show me everything. They
yeah,
only have to do
and
3 steps to get your
yeah,
videos. What do you
right. But, so apparently when you click subscribe, YouTube knows better than you do. When you click subscribe, you
Yeah,
don't.
it's-
That doesn't really mean you want to see all the channel's
You don't-
content.
You don't necessarily want to sub. You're just clicking it to click it.
Yeah, we understand that when
Why
you
not, dude?
when you click subscribe, that doesn't. Yeah, you don't actually want to see all the channel's content. We see what you're trying to do.
See, we know. We know nobody really wants viewers.
If a channel gets spammed, if somebody gets spammed by a channel's content, they'll unsubscribe. It's literally as simple as that.
We just want to promote nice little Bitcoin porn websites and
There's building going on to the
Logan Paul.
120. They just built down. They're
Bro, where the frick are you?
oh god, 120 to your right, out in this big open field, running down to the river. They're still quite up a bit on the hill. I only see one.
Oh, well, I'm down here now.
Oh, way too far ahead.
I still don't get notification. Yeah, the notification thing barely works. Oh, I see them. Hello, it's me, Kenworth. I'm coming to say hi.
Wait,
Where are
I just
you?
heard a hit marker sound, but I didn't. Huh? That was weird. Good stuff. That person jitter moved. It's so weird.
Hey, my dude. There
I got the
are-
notification.
made the double.
Doesn't show me. Yeah, people who have on notifications, they'll get notified for all the content. Yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with the. I'm gonna stick.
Right here. Look.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Yeah, bring it out,
Oh my god. Oh.
dude. That
You want the new
emote
shotty,
is
dude?
amazing. No, I don't want the new shotty. I'm fine. New shotty.
best time to use
The
it.
new shotty isn't even that good.
Yo, look at this. Right.
Yeah.
No!
Dude, literally, that's like the perfect sound to make too. When somebody's running up on you like that.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Oh my lord.
But wait, what's better than one?
The double pump is back. I know, dudes. I know. We gotta head more this way. I don't really know why we're heading away from Tilted, but I still have a jump pad too, so we need to use that. You should have seen the glitch that happened to me earlier, dude.
Bro, have you done the supply drop glitch?
No, I saw Muselk did it where you fly through like the netting. Is that what you're talking about? Like the ropes?
No. I don't know.
I saw him
I don't know
tweet
what
about
you're
it.
talking
He jump padded. Okay, no, probably not.
Oh no. So if the supply drop's coming in blitz mode, I'm not sure if it works in this mode. You can like kind of crouch around inside the little blue marker, and it teleports you to on top of the supply drop.
No, are you serious?
I'm gonna post a clip on Twitter later. Yeah, I got on top of it, and I looked like I was just a freaking chopper gunner up there, dude. Like,
That's
down from the top.
literally.
Ah! What do you mean? I can do this all day, kid. I can literally do this all day. Come on. How long you got, huh? Thanks, Lithon.
Knock one down.
Oh my god, that's gonna freaking reach! It reached!
I'm gonna finish him. Got
You
him.
still got a chug jug?
No, I don't have a med kit though. Let me drop that.
I don't want to really just talk about what happened at all, to be honest with you.
I'm closing you in.
Oh my god, I already had 3.
What do you want to do about this guy? Do you want to jump pad to him? I killed his teammate, so it's literally only one guy there.
Listen, Muse, I love you. This is why I love you, Josh, because I've been doing that what do you mean thing forever. Watch my stream.
He's trying to snipe Kenny. He's being so cute. He's trying to snipe me. Peek up one more time. I dare
I
you.
wish you'd put your jump pad down.
My God, Kenny.
It's like we don't even have one anymore or something. Can you put it down, please, Tony?
Fine.
Thank you. And then this little wiener sniffer get all the kills.
You jumped off?
Did he jump down or was that you?
No, he jumped down.
Where'd he go? Good job, man. Why are you beach wieners shooting me?
Would you just call them beach wieners?
Freaking beach wieners.
Did you just seriously steal that blue AR? Did you just seriously steal?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you
I
did.
didn't.
You 100%.
I dropped my green.
No. I had it.
dropped my
I had a
green for you.
green.
I dropped my green.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. I had a green one.
What?
I had a
I
green.
dropped my green. I dropped my green.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. I'm pretty sure more loot dropped. I'm just gonna go down for it.
Where's all this guy's stuff? Where'd you down that one guy at?
I killed him. I think his teammate picked up a lot of the stuff. He was literally.
There's a blue AR right here.
Is it really?
Are you down the hill? I'm gonna bring it to you.
Nah, I'm literally right here.
Okay.
Oh, there's a nade launcher. I'm taking that. Oh, people on us?
All right. Where?
Right over here to our
Not killing
east.
me. I'm out of here. One guy.
Okay. Yep. Only one guy.
What the fig Newton?
There's a purple tack up here if you want that.
A purple tech.
Dude, I don't know
Alright,
why
both
my
the shot.
FPS just dropped.
Dude, I let 144 look towards tilted 80.
Yeah, literally. It drops that hard. It's crazy. Bloom is crazy. Bloom is crazy. Bloom is crazy.
Because where's the crazy boys?
I don't see anything.
Whoa, Nelly.
You want to just go back to our jump
Alright,
head?
let's go. Where is it?
Right over here,
shoot,
west.
I'm already down here. Oh yeah, I'm done.
I left the blue AR. How did I drop the blue AR, dude? Like, huh?
Do you have any building materials? Your boy is out of them.
I almost got 1,000 wood, yeah. How did I drop that, dude? Where did it get dropped?
My God.
I swear, Pro Highness might be the, like, stupidest player on the planet.
I see a guy.
What direction? Oh, you're all the way until the... I'm not even with you right now. Good stuff, though.
Don't worry, he's dead. No need to panic.
Thank you,
So you might
chat, for
be
reminding me
real
that I missed a blue AR. I'm coming, Kenny.
Okay, dude, take your time.
And take your time. What direction?
This
Oh,
guy's
yeah,
still in.
northwest, northwest. Oh, jeez.
Where at?
Just northwest. They're building a giant,
Really
seems...
far away, or?
No, like northwest up on the hill, like literally right outside of Tilted. You probably can't see it because you're at the wrong angle, but...
Yeah, I can't. Oh, I see one. I see one now. Yeah. Northwest, right here by these ramps.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Where'd he go?
Oh, they're shooting at you. They're shooting at you. Wait for them to see me down here in Tilted. And we get there, hit him for blue.
Okay, I just wanted to take my shield pass so fast. Okay, well. Oh my God.
Well, what?
I hit him once for I think 70, so. Good job. General Jensen. All right, dude. Bro, hopefully they had some kind of mats. This is ridiculous.
There's Matt's literally to your left, up on the top of the hill here.
All right, I'm going.
Why was that so loud? Holy jeez, did you hear that? There's still guys in this base right here. Hit him once. 195.
Roger that.
You pushing him?
Yep.
Okay. They're building up. Knock one down.
No.
On the ground. Got him.
Okay. That was fun.
Hey, Burning Water, thank you so much for the 2, man. If you don't win, I'm refunding. That's a super chat, man. Good luck refunding that.
Wow, what?
How many rockets do you have, by the way? No pressure or anything.
Only 28.
Oh, okay, cool. By the way, I have no wood. How much wood do you have?
500. How do you have no wood? You just had 1,000. What do you mean?
I have 1,000 brick.
Oh, you're fine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right.
Go brick. You'll be all right. Legendary grenade launcher down here for you.
Okay, I'll come get that. I'm gonna go down here and get this guy's building material, though. I think he had a little bit.
Okay.
Because wood is the soup. Oh, there's even a shield potion down here, too. And he had... Oh, he had 13 wood. Sick. Totally worth it. There's a full shield down here, too, for you. Come down here.
Where is it? Oh, I see
Right,
it.
my little... Yeah.
Thanks, dude. All legendary challenge. Wait, where might?
You opened it out of the... Where'd you open the supply drop? Is that where it came out of? The nade launcher?
Yeah, supply drop.
Or was it down here by the...
Bro, what the frick? My mini shields just went through a wall. That was weird.
Where'd you open it up, Kenny? I found it.
Stop asking me questions.
Kenny,
Confusing me.
don't raise your voice at me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You just get to me sometimes. I don't want to fight in Tilted Boys. I got 10 HP in there. There's only 3 guys left. Oh, I think I might see some people. Never
Oh, I
mind.
see him building 150, 150. Up on the
Oh,
mountain.
Yeah, way up yonder. Way yonder. All right, is it that team and a solo YOLO?
Probably.
Probably no. I mean, that's what it is.
Trying to look for any movement. Are you sure?
Oh, it could be 3 solos. You're right. You're
Could
right.
be,
You're right.
could be, yeah, could be, could be.
Did you shoot his base or did he do that?
I'm shooting. I'm
base?
shooting his base. Yeah. All right. I actually just took a lot of damage, so I need to heal up real quick. I'm an idiot. Give me a couple seconds.
Oh, pro.
Storm,
Hennis, my
please stay away. Ah. Okay, we're good. I reached the grenade launcher. Give me that grenade launcher. Come on. Yes, good boy.
buddy. Good boy. Good boy. He's gonna have to move. I'm right in the center.
He's got
Did he
he's
go
got
down? I
a
don't
he's got
know.
a trap in his base.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he already moved, my dude.
Did he? Yeah, there.
I don't know. I was building up. I see the platforms everywhere. He might have jumped at it, actually. I don't know where he went. Come and get some.
Gotta figure out where I see anybody. Hey, what's up, Higgsy? How you doing,
Yeah.
man?
I'm just waiting.
One of your fellow Doom members is in here.
Hey, how many rockets you got?
I got 44. I'm coming up.
Dude,
I'm coming up to you.
Okay. Yeah, like when the circle shrinks, I think we just gotta eliminate all buildings.
Oh, is that your trap? Oh, I just got hit. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
they're my
I know
traps.
where he is.
Yeah,
He's still up
on the
there.
base. Still on the base. This is where Hennis peaks. He dies. I give him my med kit. I give him some shield. We do
How many
it.
shields do you have?
We win. 8.
Got me some. Gracias.
Check this out. Now we can be shot. A 1, a 2.
There's as many
a
potions
3,
back down
and
there.
a
I drop
4.
them.
You guys won't be shooting through my doors. Well, this.
Oh,
is
he's
kinda
dropping down.
but-
Oh shoot! Right behind the gas station down there, or whatever that thing is. Convenience store 210, all the way down to the bottom.
Okey-dokey.
There's another solo down there too.
Okie dokie. Why are they not shooting each other? I'm confused.
I think. Yep. Oh shoot. Stuff.
See you later, pal.
I don't know why I
Oh, there's
choked that
solos.
shot. Yeah. Gonna reload my shotguns here.
No, I wanted to jump at. Oh, damn, not worth it.
Donde está la players?
All right, put those rockets to use, my dude.
Where do you think they are?
One of these buildings. Freaking rockets. I have 9 traps, dude.
I got 7. We could do something fancy.
Oh, once I use them. Where could they be? Where could they be? I don't know.
I haven't got any hit markers or anything. Could literally be in the building below us too.
I mean, we got the zone again.
Yeah, true. Look at that supply drop in the tree. LMAO.
Wait, where is it?
Right in the tree there to the northwest. It's just sitting there. Are you actually going for it? Lol. Kenny's going for it.
Why not?
I don't know. What if the tree gets shot down? And then you die? And then I have to pull a Kenny and choke a 1v1 again.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm about to waste all these shots. Underground? Oh, that's true. They technically could still be underground, couldn't they?
Yeah, down here, the tunnel thing. I don't know though. Circle's coming in.
They gotta be sweating now if they're down there.
You got any campfires?
No, sir. Oh, you were thinking small circle challenge?
Yeah. either in Trump Tower or our building, dude, I think.
Right, Kenny, I got the scope out right now. I'm gonna get a different angle.
Look like Batman.
Oh, you know what? Now it's the perfect time for this music. Make it happen, folks. I think they're in the building right below us. It's only 2v2.
Alright, so I'm gonna do a thing. I'm gonna take a little bit of border damage, so if it does shrink, I can heal up with my med kit.
Okay.
Let it go build over, just jump a little bit. You hear the traps?
No.
Someone just put traps down.
You want to go for small circle?
I guess. I don't know what else to do.
All right, let's do it.
Just take a little bit of damage so you can medkit heal.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Do you have an extra medkit though?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. Actually, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm not gonna take it right now. James Bond music? Yeah, James Bond music. Perfectly suspenseful.
Skybase? That'd be so funny if they were above us this whole time.
They gotta be just camping. They're gonna die, like, right? 100%. Here, you know what I'm gonna try to do? I think this helps increase stability of it, so they get shot down. Yeah.
Grab that medkit. I'll grab it real fast.
Oh yeah, true. I'm literally out of building material.
All right. Did you take damage?
No, not yet. I'll take some right now.
Oh, what?
What?
Want to edit that piece? No.
I took damage. I took 10. I can take the
This
make.
thing is so messed up. Oh, here you go.
Yeah. I got my music really loud right now, so you're gonna have to tell me. You have a jump pad or anything? I don't have one. Shoot.
Do we have to heal on this circle or?
No, it's not this one.
Excellent.
Yep, it'll stop here in a sec. Yeah, just jump up and place it. Oh, shoot.
Dang it. Did that work?
Be able to jump up on this one, yeah. This is so perfect, dude. I'm just gonna sit back and sip my G Fuel.
Bro, they're never gonna break this down unless they got like an LMG that's insane. Bro, just keep going.
Dude, how much material do you have? I ran out so long ago.
Wait, one more?
No way.
I think I got one platform left.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
Alright, yeah, let's just hide up here. Are you ready to apply a naked?
We heal.
Oh, wait, they're shooting.
Yeah, there's no way they're getting through this, dude.
Oh,
When do we heal? When do we heal?
once it gets closer. Okay, nah. Once it gets close, Oh, shoot, they're already shooting at it?
Oh.
What?
Oh, no way.
What? Yeah, keep placing. I'm applying.
You're all alone, dude. There's no way. I can't heal
Okay,
through
I'm
this.
applying.
I'm
Shoot.
dead. It's up to you, man.
No way.
It's up to
Please
you,
don't tell me.
dude.
Yes, let's go.
Yes, good job.
Oh my god, I thought I applied it
Bro,
too
I was
early.
building extra layers.
Oh my god, look at they just
dude.
literally shot straight up. Holy crap, we were up so high. Oh my god.
Bro, we honestly probably should have thought about that. They could just shoot one square, we're dead. Cause that's oh my god.
If we had built over a building, that probably would have been better. But I mean, we can't control where the storm goes, so.
Dude, it was so good that we made all those layers.
Yeah, right? Because that literally took so much time for them to just destroy all the whole thing. GG's. Drop a like in the stream if you guys are new. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Turn on post notifications so you guys never miss a future stream.
Come on, dog. Out of
Alright.
30. I'm having a.
That was perfect, man. That was perfect. Dude, the James Bond music made that 10 out of 10. So much better. So Burning Water, we won the game, man. We won the game. I wonder how many kills. I don't know how many kills Kenny had that game. I think I just had 12. Your teammate's funny as heck? Yeah, TBNR Kenworth. Go look him up, guys. He's insane. So funny. G freaking G show the shop? I got you guys. Is everything in the item shop right now? How many wins today? I think that's my second or third win today. Something like that. Been live for a little less than 2 hours. Play Freaky Friday? That song is so inappropriate though. Like I try to keep my streams PG friendly. And like if I play that song's just... There's a little much, you know what I'm saying? We'll get into another duos game here soon, guys. Let's get it. GG's, man. GG's, bros. What am I playing on? LG Goodman. I'm playing on the PC. How do you cycle traps? So it's the same button for me that I use to cycle building materials. So as soon as I initiate my trap, I right click to switch between traps. Or I don't know what you would call those. Trap or equipment, maybe. About jubilation? Bro. It gets me every time, dude. What's up, Jesus? Ah. How long am I gonna be playing? I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure. We'll keep playing until I get bored and don't want to play anymore.
Boy, Hennis.
What is up, brother?
Back with another smallest circle challenge. All right, Josh, I added you on Telegram if you're still here, my dude.
Kenny Stream wants to hear me rap? Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, go for it, dude.
I'm not doing it. Squads? Nah, dude, I just want to play duos right now. Mana B says, I believed in you. She believed in us, Kenny. So thoughtful.
How adorable.
Song? I'm the One by DJ Khaled.
Far Cry 5, when does it come out?
Have I ever played on Brazilian servers? I have not ever played on Brazilian servers.
Wait, is Far Cry 5 out?
I don't think so.
No, Mushu,
I thought 10 minutes ago you only wanted to play solos. It was longer than 10 minutes ago. I didn't want to do.
10 minutes.
I didn't want to do sponsor squads.
Oh, dude, fake fan. Wait, what?
Wait, huh?
Ooh, delivery hours, 1 a.m. Oh boy, Tony, I'm getting a pizza. Ooh, baby.
Oh.
Let me see the specials for today. Mushu, leave me alone. 2 large one-topping pizzas for $7 a piece. Ooh, late night special.
For some reason, I can only watch the stream in 720p source. Yeah, that's because I only stream in 720p, man.
Yo, what is gluten?
It's the opposite of gluten-free.
Yeah, what is gluten? Gluten is a composite of storage proteins termed
type exclamation point cents in the chat if you guys want my sensitivity. 1000 DPI and 0.05 cents.
That's not my house. Please come to your house.
All right, Kenworth, where are we going? Salty Springs, I agree. Yes.
Yeah, jump. Alright, let's go.
Is he live? Yes, he's live right now.
Yep, very entertaining gameplay going on over here.
Yo, what's up, 24K? Thank you very much for the compliment, man.
Yo, 24 carat in the air.
I just realized I've been watching in 360p. That's a feels sad, man.
That is a feel sad, man.
I'm gonna go big barn, I guess.
Whatever you say, Chacho.
Oh, I missed the jump.
I'll be there in a little bit. Just looting this house real fast. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Alright, good stuff. I got a shotgun.
I have a revolver.
Alright, hold on.
I got a chest,
let
though.
me get a little bit of wood real fast.
Oh, I got an RPG. Oh, it's all over. Yo, Smack, thank you so much for the $1 donation, man. Appreciate it, brother.
I found a bolt.
Sounds like you're across the room.
Sorry,
I found a bolt in the corner of my room.
I got a bolt. All right, what house are you at?
I'm in White Barn right now. I'll back.
You went to Fatal?
Yeah.
He said salty.
No, I'm at.
I swear to God, the words out of your mouth were Fatal.
Did I say fatal by accident, guys?
I mean salty.
For salty?
All right. Did you loot the long white barn?
No.
I just got over here.
Okay.
Well, I looted a little bit of salty.
That's a rip. Did I actually say that?
Yeah.
Chat, confirm. Confirm if I'm that stupid. I still want a pump if you want one. Oh, I got a bolt too. Oh, I got a slurp for you actually.
Oh,
I'm gonna
nice.
hold on to that.
Oh, you got a slurp and you got a bolt too?
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a shot.
And an RPG. I only got a tack right now.
The bolt. Oh, I got a pump. We're good. The bolt. I was gonna get somebody picked up. All right. I just got a shotgun right now.
Here, I got this for you.
Go get him, dude.
You said fatal?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
My chat said you said salty. Wait.
Oh wait.
Okay. Someone's lying.
You said salty. I said salty. Okay. Okay. I did say it. I did say salty. My B. Ooh, right at the bottom floor. Yeah, bottom floor. Pump right there. You down on the ground again?
Just come down. Just come down. All right, let's get out, dude.
Woo! There's a mini potion over there for you. Right out back the house.
All right.
Oh, jump pad. Oh, fancy, fancy.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie to you, Hennis. I actually wasn't even in salty. I was still in the air. I was ordering pizza, but I'm glad this all worked out.
Wow. And the chat wonders why I have trust issues. I mean,
Bro, I was ordering a pizza and I was like, yeah, I got a bolt. I'm sorry, I couldn't lie to you anymore, dude. The truth had to come out.
why you have to lie? There's a mini potions back there if you can carry him.
What do you mean?
Right back here. If you can carry him, I can't carry him. In that, right in there. Yeah. Are you still ordering your pizza?
No. I had somebody message me.
Okay. How was
Yeah, I'll take 3 large pizzas. I'll take an ant.
how was Fortnite with Preston?
Fun. It's fun. We did the no chest challenge.
Ah.
Wasn't that difficult. Preston kept killing himself with an RPG though every time we got close to winning.
That's
But
neat.
we finally got the dub.
Is he good at Fortnite or? I haven't really watched many of his videos.
Preston?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's just gotta learn how to build a little bit better.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I bet his aim is pretty decent. Usually is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I feel like if you play any kind of FPS game on PC, you're naturally be just go
Right.
learn the muscle memory and you'll be fine.
Exactly.
Just start aimbotting kids.
That's what I do.
Yeah, buddy.
What do you call a rich baker? I don't know.
Dude, are you you never played PUBG, did you?
No, I think I played it for 27 minutes in total.
Yeah. They're coming out with a really small map, like a Fortnite-sized map, and they're still keeping 100 people. So I
Really?
think I'm gonna try playing it again once they do that.
Oh, is their map significantly smaller than Fortnite's? What the hell?
No, their map is huge.
Oh, I mean,
compared to
yeah, I
Fortnite.
mean bigger than Fortnite's. Yeah. There's a green AR up here too if you want that. That's interesting though.
Yeah. If the game becomes more action-based, I actually like the game. It's just the performance is pretty shit.
Right.
That's something you can get used to. Sucks, but if it can be based again, I'm down for that.
Yeah, definitely. PUBG's bad. You've only played.
I like the. What's up?
I was reading something in the chat. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Because I like the vehicles, and I like how it's like almost like Call of Duty with the weapons and stuff.
People down here.
It's not like cartoon. There's no bloom.
I'm back at the house to the northeast, all the way at the bottom. Same building. Oh, right here. Last guy went down below. I don't know where he went. Still down below. I see him.
Yeah, dude. Not gonna lie, I was like leaning, looked underneath.
Oh yeah, physically, like
leaning, I was
yeah.
Where's he? He went underneath, I think.
I do that a lot. Just ask my chat. I like, yeah, physically move a lot.
I do it like left and right.
Oh, there's
like,
a new shotgun here, heavy,
Ooh.
on top of the garage roof.
Okay.
He said the S word, JK, LMAO. I mean, it's not a JK, he said it. But no, one of my mods was saying, how can I know that PUBG is bad if I've only played 30 minutes of it? Just watch the gameplay, it's clunky. It's slower than Fortnite. Fortnite's optimized, it's smoother, more innovative. I mean, I get PUBG's going for a realistic look, but realism just always doesn't mean better. People on the house directly did the 75.
Alright. Oh, llama.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see it.
Llama, llama, llama.
Yeah, they're building out back. I got a jump head too, by the way.
Back
One of you.
steakhouse.
Ah, shoot. I should have pre-aimed that. Henna, should I donate 1,000 bits? Hey, that's up to you, brother. I won't be disappointed if you do. That's all I'm saying.
Get this llama. Cover me.
Alright, I got you.
Llama, 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 llama. I'll split half my wood when I'm done.
Okay.
I'll have 1,000.
Yeah, I only got 200.
I'm gonna drop some out.
Think I killed that guy? Oh, no.
Over here.
Both in here.
Should be one shot. Good job, dude.
That was weird. They split up like that. I wasn't expecting that. How much wood do you have?
I dropped it back here.
Okay.
I have 400 right now.
5 YouTubers that swear it.
There it is.
Love you.
5 YouTubers that said, "Oh my god."
How many minis do you have?
6.
I'll take one. Holy crap, Kelton just came in with 1,000 bits. Kelton, thank you so much. This is the first time I've ever donated it.
You gotta shake it really fast to your camera.
Oh, yeah.
It looks so much better.
I got this mini potion for you right there. Oh, man. Kelton, thank you so much for the 1,000 bits, though, man. I appreciate it, brother.
I gotta start doing that now. Even if I'm in a gunfight, dude, we get bit. Throwing the jambalaya.
Somebody said full shield on the roof. There's no way he missed a full shield. Since we're still here, though, might as well check. Oh, yeah, there was.
What?
I didn't. Oh, wait, do you have another mini?
I have a lot of minutes.
Shoot. I don't know what to drop because I want to drink this. I'm just going to drink it and come to you. Shoot. Could have had on her shield. I was paying attention.
Well, you gotta pay attention there, pal.
It's all Gucci. I still got 88. Thank you very much to whoever made that call out. I don't know if that was Sammy Savage or somebody else. Gracias. You guys are so kind. Preston is better than Kenny. Yikes. Called out.
Who said that?
I don't know if I want to drop names.
I'll have you know I just carried Preston to win. So, suck my balls,
What? Wow. Okay.
Mr. Garrison.
I believe it. I've watched you play Fortnite. You probably play more than him too.
A lot more.
What does he mostly do now? Is he just vlogging or?
Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite.
Is that a guy? No, it's a tree. Ah, lol. Can I get an Omega lol in the chat? Good try, Kenny. Good try, dude.
Nice dodge. Nice
Here, hold
dodge.
on. I want a rocket rad somewhere. I only got 16, so
yeah.
we won't try it too much. But, is this your strat? Here, hold on. Yeah, keep jumping forward like that, and I'll just try to time it. I gotta get close to you. Though we gotta get in the same level. Ah, shoot, a little bit too far.
Ready?
Yep.
Come up here a little bit. I don't want to go too high. Over to Dusty. Ready?
Yep.
I'm jumping.
Ah, shoot, way too early. Way too early.
Yeah!
Yeet!
Woo! Woo! Woo!
Oh, you can wait, Jans. Do the little jibulation
I'm
thing.
doing it. I'm doing it. Woo!
Dude, I wish I could see you so badly right now.
Woo!
Well, that noise you make too is just so perfect. Oh my god.
Pizza guy's gonna walk out the door like, who the hell is screaming?
Come into the door. It's like, sorry, just playing some Fortnite.
Sorry, I was just playing a little Fortnite, man. What's up?
There's a
Like, yeah, dude, you want to come in? Play some duos?
there's a giant wooden base. Yo, dude, how funny would that be if you played duos with the pizza guy? That'd be so hilarious.
Like, hell no, you freak! I heard you screaming.
Was that shotgun shots over there? Was that you or?
No,
Oh,
I
that,
was
you're breaking stuff.
Yeah,
There's a blue tack in here, in between these two
I'm good. I got the new shotty.
dusties. Freaking love Kenny, dude. Oh, was it muted there? Sorry, that was just a genuine I love you.
Find it. I know what you really said. Why you're muted.
Oh, people right over here to
Piece
the
of sh-
right over here to 105. Shoot, I stayed peeking that way too long up on the hill. Shoot. There he is. Pushing up on you. Stuff. I stayed back way too long for that because he hit me once.
That's all right.
How many minis do you have?
I'm
gonna go check.
I got 5.
Okay, I'm gonna go check their stuff, see if they have some. There's a nade launcher here. I'm actually gonna pick that up.
I could have taken less damage, but I was just kind of being a little frisky, risky, you know?
Oh, frisky. Frisky, risky?
Yeah, I went for the risky.
Risky and frisky? There's an RPG over here if you want that.
Yeah, if there's no bandages or anything. I have to carry healing over, like, stuff like that.
You drop the minis in here or no?
Oh, I have 32 rockets? No, here's the minis.
Gracias,
32
senor.
rockets! Can you believe it?
Oh, whoa, what the hell? Was that you? That was you, wasn't it?
32 rockets, Hennis!
Oh my god.
I can do this all day, Hennis!
That scared the
I'm so
living
sorry,
crap out of me. Oh lord.
Oh, I got a campfire for you.
Actually, that's perfect, yeah. Thanks, Dad.
Hey, no problem, Tony.
We gotta go.
Want to rocket ride you?
Ooh.
Oh, shoot, we actually have to get out of
You
here.
want to rocket ride me?
Yeah, just keep jumping. Go in front of me. We gotta go down on flat, though. Come down here. Keep jumping, keep jumping. Alright, let's get on flat, and then I can launch you.
Okay. Want me to stop right here? Ready?
Yeah, go.
Well, this is gonna end very badly.
How far you're going. How far you're going. Wow, I'm so good at this.
Beautifully executed.
Keep jumping it, keep jumping it.
Oh, wait.
Keep jumping. Jump on it.
Oh, shit.
Wait.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's way too high. No, shoot. Here, try it again. You gotta shoot it like, it's gotta ride right up along that. Yeah.
Stand still,
Yeah.
so I can aim it. Stand still. Fucking stand still. Sorry.
Whoa, gee. All right, try it one more time. I know I gotta jump earlier. One more time. No, oh god, I think I here. No, Jesus. Okay, you. Yes. No.
Wait, people over here.
Where? Oh yeah.
People over here in the shack. Hold on. I'll rocket.
Okay, hold on.
Ah. Alright.
Just spamming. So not
Alright,
nice.
ready?
You ready?
We're gonna jump. Yeah, jump.
Ah! Shoot.
Oh, too early. Get out.
One's over to the
Alright,
right.
there you go.
One's over to the right. Yeah, let's just focus on these guys.
Yahoo!
Oh, I think I see one. He's all the way back. Maybe. Oh wait, there's another team fighting. Oh, got one. Saw that was running in there. There's still
this guy
at
go?
least one more team in there. I just killed him.
Okay.
They're still in here.
Yeah, I see him. Get him, man. It's Michael Pay. No one gets out alive.
There's a trap here. There's a trap in here. Watch out. I hear him. Don't get hit. Let's go.
Oh my god.
Kenny, there's a
Where's
trap
the
down here!
at?
Kenny, there's a trap down here! Ah! Behind you.
What? What are we looking at?
Behind you, there's a trap.
Dude, I looked everywhere. I thought I was gonna fall into it because I fell in the hole.
Damn. 2 wins in a row. I like that.
Bro, I had 3 kills, bro.
I think I had 5, I
How's
think.
your back? Oh, we only had 5. What the frick were we doing the whole game, dude? I didn't even know it was the last.
We were trying to rock it right. I know. I wasn't even paying attention. Oh man.
I gotta quit yelling. I'm telling you, the freaking pizza guy is a nutball. I hate when a banana gets brown.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure those are bad for you too. Actually, don't those have like really high sugar content?
What, bananas?
Yeah, like no, the brown ones. Like when they turn brown, that's them like what's the word?
That makes sense, 'cause that's
Fermenting?
when you
Is it
make banana
fermenting?
bread.
Yeah, I think it's fermenting. So it's like, no, is it? No, fermenting's not the right word, is it?
I think I might be fermenting right now.
Maybe. I don't know. If you guys are enjoying the stream, make sure you drop a like, subscribe if you're new. Appreciate all the love. You guys are amazing. Thank you all so much for the support.
Oh, did you see I changed my name?
Where? On Twitter or YouTube? Or no, on here. You TBNR Kenworth. Yeah.
Yeah, I put a period in it. No one had this one.
No, you just had Kenworth before. You didn't have TBNR in your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came over 2 H's. Now everybody's gonna know who I am. Now they're all gonna know who killed him, or who.
I had 8. Oh, I had 8 kills. Never mind.
Did you really? Damn,
Yeah.
you're going off. This is what happens, chat, when you let them get some kills, you know. It goes off. Oh, GG, Nate. 20 million views.
Is Nate Gibson watching you right now?
No.
Okay. Does Nate not like me?
He doesn't.
He doesn't like me? Why not?
I don't know. I don't like you either.
Give me the deets. Because and it's such
Nate likes everyone.
it's such a small thing. I have no. You want to go Pleasant?
No, salty.
Oh my god. Okay.
Why Pleasant? It's literally resident.
No, it's not, dude. Pleasant's fine. Okay, so I've known Nate Gibson for a long time, and I started playing, and I played duos with him like a while ago for the first time. And it's such a small petty thing, but he didn't follow me back on Twitter. And he hasn't followed me back on Twitter for such a long time. He played with Ocean once and immediately followed Ocean back on Twitter.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't like you then.
I was gonna say I don't think he likes me.
Wait, who are you? I'm just kidding.
Who am I playing with again?
You got him.
Hello? Oh, maybe I'm just delusional. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe it's possible he didn't see me follow him. I don't know.
He probably doesn't even care.
Those are all possibilities. But it's such a small thing, you know? Such a small thing, but it just makes me wonder, you know? There's a blue AR. I got a green one for you. You want it? Coming down to you. There's a lot of shotgun shots at the brick house.
Okay. Oh no, I'm out of ammo, and this is bad.
I'm here with you. I'm here with you.
Oh,
Surprise! Have people over at the brick house?
RNG was not there.
They're going into the L house right now.
Kill.
Dropped a green AR right here for you. I have 1 mini potion too.
Ooh. I'm a blessed, my dude. Oh, on you, on you.
Yep. I'm trying to figure out where. That one. Oh, he triple pumped me.
Don't finish him.
You know, triple.
No. I don't have any building material.
I missed my shot too. Choked on him. Dude, that was so perfect. Oh my god, dude. There's no way. I just did not see that coming at all. I thought you were at least gonna try it. Oh my god, dude, that was so perfect.
Oh my god, dude. I'm dead, bro. Oh my god.
I can't with this Kenny guy, man. Oh.
Come on, you know that's perfect.
No, it
dude.
was perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Oh my god.
I actually started crying a little bit, dude. Not gonna lie.
Oh my god. That was too perfect. It's like you had that planned. You knew it's like, all right, I'm screwed anyway. I was gonna
Dude, it just popped into my brain.
just hit him with the jubilation. Can you play with Preston too? I don't even know if he's on. We're playing duos right now anyways.
Yeah, Preston went to go eat, but I think he was going to bed.
He doesn't even follow me on
8
Twitter.
a.m.
He doesn't even know who I am. Is he usually a late riser? Let's build a profile
Late
on
riser.
Preston. Does he wake up late?
I woke up at 8 a.m. today, he said.
Wow. Are you feeling salty springs again, my guy?
Oh, of course, my dog. Or else we're going to do a little jubilation.
Jubilation? Is that the new move? Hands up screaming? Yeah, pretty much.
Gosh damn it, dude. That was so funny.
I'm gonna go to the house at the bottom of the street here.
Alright. See ya.
Actually, I'm gonna go to
Just on
the...
wood thing.
Yeah, oh. Oh, you mean this thing?
Stick to your call out, sir. Please stick to your call
Hey, watch out. Getting deagled.
I need you to stick to your call out, sir.
Ready, Kenny? I'm gonna get a one shot from all the way up here with this deagle. You ready for this? Ready for this?
You shot from the side. I thought you were shooting him.
Bro, I was. Do you understand how difficult the deagle is to use?
They got a burst and a pump from the gas station.
I suck with the deagle. I just had to hit him with it.
Bro, okay, this is what we gotta do, bro. This is what we gotta do. We gotta get in a house.
Yep. We just gotta do that.
As soon as they run in, just be standing there doing that, bro.
All right, I'm done. I'm
We
done. I'm
have to do
done.
that. Oh my god. Imagine.
Wait. Cancel real quick. Cancel. Or no, we can't. Shoot. Just
I can't,
leave party.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'll invite you. You know, we gotta be wearing the same outfit too. That's the biggest thing. We gotta be wearing the same. Okay, invite you.
For the pink bear. That's so creepy. Do you have it?
Yeah, do you want it? Yeah. I'm totally down. Okay.
Yeah,
Found
let's
the
do it. Let's do it.
pink bear. Same. What do you have for back or black bling? Back
Put it in
bling?
the book bag. The backpack.
The back.
Actually, put on the dinosaur one.
Okay. Perfect. All right, that's gonna be the plan. We're just gonna get into a house. We're just gonna, dude, especially with the eyes on this thing. We're just gonna get to the house and just start freaking out. Just start
I'm trying
buzzing.
to like hide in like a bathroom room that someo's gonna loot.
They're just gonna hear these little pitter patter footsteps above them. They're gonna run up and they're gonna be like, "What the hell's going on up here?"
Oh my god, dude.
Definitely gotta do this. Yeah. The deagle is so weird to hit. Does the deagle have travel time? I think it does.
No,
Doesn't?
it doesn't. But it makes it look like it does.
Yeah, because you can see the bullet travel.
Yeah.
So confusing.
What's up, dude? Ricardo, thanks for the follow, Ricardo. It's a little confusing.
Oh, Kenny, turn around.
Yep. Where are you?
Look at your eyes, dude. Look at your eyes. Oh my god, this is so great. All right, are we going? Want to go retail? You know what we should do? No. Go retail and just get on top of the water tower, and just do that.
They're not gonna see.
No,
us
that's
from
the best part. We'll see how long it takes for anybody to notice us.
there. Oh my god! All right.
It'll be
I
perfect.
do not like this plan, but I'll do it because I love you.
Well, come on. What's we gonna do? Just like sit in the bathroom. At least we get to watch other people fight. This will be kind of funny.
That's true.
There's no chest up there either. Shoot, so we're kind of screwed.
Oh, dude, I hope a Twitch streamer kills us so we can see what it looks like.
Honestly, that'd be so perfect. Get it! Here, come to the edge here, so we're like looking out over the.
Hey, it's not, don't shoot!
We come in peace. Take us to your leader.
What are we doing, dude?
This is the perfect strat. This is gonna work. Trust.
Dude, what if they don't even see us?
No, they will. Somebody has to, right? There's no way this could be this simple.
There.
Yeah. They don't notice this
I
yet.
don't know. Who looks up here, dude? Who looks up here?
I don't know. Some people look up here for the chest. When I run down, then? When I run down, just do it like in the middle of the street. Alright.
Let's see if this works.
We'll chill up here for a little bit. Dude, just the sound of it. Look at how stupid. Imagine how stupid we must look from like way far away.
I'm telling you, that's why we gotta do it like a door. Imagine someone opens a door and they just see this.
Oh
in front of
shoot!
them.
Stop. Show them the way. This is
There
this
they
is the
are.
way. Oh, he
He's
sees
looking,
us. He
he's
sees us. He sees it. He's just sitting there looking at us. He's like, dude, come over here. Look at this. Wait, are they gonna come up here and do it with us?
Do it, please do it.
Please, please,
do
please.
it.
Please, please, please.
Please do it.
Oh my god.
No!
That's so lame, dude.
Damn it, man.
You guys are no fun.
I thought he was gonna do it.
I know.
No!
Reporting player.
That guy, dude.
I'm reporting him.
Like, you guys
Report. Doesn't
doesn't know
Doesn't
how to have fun,
dance.
dude. He cucked us. He cucked, and it's full of spore.
unbelievable. All right, I think I'm down for like one more game because I'm gonna try to get to bed early. I'm gonna
Alright.
try to stream on Twitch in the morning.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Where are we going? Regular duos?
Yeah.
Where's my pizza at? Still boxing? It's been boxing since last game.
Who'd you order
How do
from?
you
Domino's?
still box it? Domino's. No, dude. Papa Jan.
Papa John's?
No, it's Papa Jan because they don't do crust stuffed cheese.
Crust
Wait, what?
stuffed cheese
stuffed
pizza?
crust. Holy crap.
Pizza
Holy
pizza
crap.
crust stuffed? You
Ah,
just
what?
stuff the crust with the pizza cheese, and then you consume it. I sucked the cheese right out of the crusty pizza.
Yo, Ninja just uploaded his 21 win streak fail.
Did you? Yeah. Did you see what happened?
Let me comment.
Did you see what happened? Did you see how it happened
Yeah, I did. I watched it live.
on Twitter? Yeah, I saw it on Twitter.
Yo, guys, go upvote my, comment. Come on, I'm trying to get subs out.
Trying to get some
Go upvote
trying
my
to get some clout. Yo, how many subs did you lose today, by the way? Did you lose any?
Bro, anytime I upload, I lose subs. I didn't upload one day and I gained like, I think 400 subs, and then I uploaded and lost them all. Or not, didn't lose them all, but I didn't get like it. Like it just went down. I don't know, dude. This game's or YouTube's weird, dude.
YouTube is really weird. But I was talking. You know who Pack-a-Puncher is, right?
Yeah.
He lost two.
Hey, oh, is that the top #1 leaderboard?
Yeah.
Underscore grind.
Leaderboard grinder. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that stream. I seen it there. #1 top leaderboard grind.
He apparently lost 2,000 subs today. Because of the new, it's like YouTube combining whatever. So apparently, like streamers lost the most. People who primarily stream.
If it's combining and you're losing,
I know.
Hello.
Hello, YouTube. Like I thought I was
What
gonna.
does that even mean?
I thought I was gonna gain subscribers if anything. I was like, oh, sick. Nope.
Hell yeah, everybody's too hot. Let's get
I woke up this morning and I lost 200 subscribers. I was like, oh, that's neat.
I uploaded it. Oh, second upload. Oh, yeah, boy, we're getting YouTube subs for dude. Did you know I live like an hour away from Ninja? I think where he lives.
I think you
is
told
true.
me that. Yeah. Can I come visit you one time and we'll like vlog going to Creep on Ninja?
Heck yeah.
That sounds
I
sick.
thought I was gonna say no, didn't you?
I honestly did. Yeah.
I would never do that, dude. Just go to some random dude's house. I mean, it's not random.
Kenny.
Hello, bro.
Watch out! There's a guy up here.
Oh, wait, let me.
I should stop being so loud. I'm actually being too loud right now.
Your neighbors are gonna call the coppers.
They are. They're gonna call cops on me.
Where's this friendly friend?
I don't know.
Kobe.
Still in here, maybe?
Oh.
This is the house he was in. Did you just almost nade yourself?
Bounced right off the window.
Before he's in the bedroom? No.
Yo, what the? Bro, what?
How do I already have 200 wood? Goddamn.
Bro,
What? What's up?
what is going on in the gas station?
What do you mean?
Dude, come. What the heck? What is here? What is this? What is this, dude? I don't understand what this is.
I'm coming. I'm coming. Oh my god, I hate you. You know what's funny? You know what's horrible about that? I actually believed you.
Alright, dude, about to breach and clear this wall. Ooh, oh.
Breach.
My.
Tommy Raptor, thank you so much for the $5, man. He says, nice to see you back in the live stream. Do you remember me? Tommy Raptor, yes, I do remember you,
God,
man.
I found another big shield.
Welcome back to the stream, brother. Appreciate your support, my man. People right down here to the north.
I dropped you a big shield. I'm coming. I'm ready. I'm ready. Where they at? Where they at? Let me at him.
Down here in the woods. I don't know if they're pickaxing each other or what. Got a sniper. I got C4, Kenny. Kenny, I've got C4.
I hit a butt. He's hurting. There's a bush there too. Hiding. Don't go dying on my heart. Don't go breaking my heart. I couldn't try. He's low. He's low. See for him.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's unfortunate. I have a big shield pot for you. Do you want it?
Gracias, senor.
Do you want it?
Yes, yes, please.
Oh, never mind. I'm gonna take it. I see that you're had some minis.
Wait. Oh wait, people. Right behind us. Right behind us. Where we came from. I only have one shotgun shot. They destroyed a tree. How much shotgun do you have? Drop me some.
A lot.
Gracias. He should be right up over here. Yep, you see him. 195. Like at grandma's house.
How did I miss? Oh my god, another guy right here on us. 9 damage, by the way.
They're back in grandma's house. One's really, really weak in there. They're trying to deagle me.
All right, Hennis, we got to do it. We got to do the thing.
What thing? Wait a minute.
Dance on him.
Oh, hold on. I love this.
Oh,
I
baby,
love
here we
this
go.
idea. But hold on, give me 3 seconds.
I see him. He's running. Watch his quick scope. I miss. Hold on. I'm gonna try it again.
What's up, alien? How you doing, man? Oh shoot! Right here at the tree. What'd you just do to him? What'd you do to him?
I don't know what to talk about it.
You know what I'm talking about? Oh, okay, we won't talk about it then.
Woo, baby. I may or may not have no scoped the young god.
Here, take these two.
Oi, papi. Thank you. You got any heavy?
Let me check. I do. I got 6.
Oh, papi. Oh, papi. Where are they, brother? Where'd you drop them?
Hey, see if you can.
Hey,
Can,
Bushman.
can you find me?
Don't hold your pickaxe. Hold like bandages or something. Wait, let me get a close up on this. Alright, go, do it. Bro, your bush. It's shaking like.
You gotta send me a clip of that.
Oh my god, somebody clip it. The boy in his season. Where are the minis at?
I dropped them to you. They were in here.
Where?
They were literally right inside here. I'm gonna take them.
No, they're not. I'm looking.
Yes, they were. They were
Am I
in
missing
here.
something?
I dropped them right in here. You must have repicked them back up.
I swear to God, I don't have any minis.
Well, Andre, I gave them to you. I dropped them.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I definitely did. Because I don't have them anymore, and I had some.
Bro, I swear to God, I don't have them. Where are they?
Maybe I drank them all, just out of spite. I genuinely don't know. I remember dropping them.
Dropping them where, though?
Inside the little hut. We were literally just in. Kenworth, do you listen to anything I say?
There's nothing in
What is this
there.
relationship if you don't listen to me?
There's nothing in
Isn't
there.
communication like the most important part of a relationship?
I've been clickbaited.
This campfire right here. Do you need anything? Do you need a... No, you don't need it.
Oh, I need the minis.
I'm completing the challenge of wearing a bush right now, so...
Where the bush? Where the fuck is my pizza?
You getting shot
Are you
at?
kidding me?
I saw bullets flying. Somebody shooting at you?
Scope AR hit me. Yeah.
No donde está? No see the players?
I see him. One's pushing me on the right. Hey, look at my hand. Don't show me, Tony.
Oh, God. We're just getting shot at from the side, aren't we, too? Is there a guy down there?
Where'd he go?
Actually... Oh, right below, right below, right below. You were literally about to... You were about to throw right there. I know you were. You were literally about to throw.
Bro, I shot it twice and just started putting my hands up. I love it. He's the best. Oh my gosh.
Hey, do you have those minis I dropped you? You really use those right now.
No, I don't, but I found these ones. This guy had minis, thank God. Loyal.
What's up, Miguel? Thank you very much
Did
for the
you
sub,
find
man. No, I didn't. No, because I gave them to you. I'm getting shot at.
You're lying. You didn't know. You never dropped them in the first place, you little bastard.
Is that you shooting? Oh, you have a scar?
What? No. Where at?
Unbelievable.
That was a risky play. That's how we live, baby.
How
life, be
many minis do you have?
So many. None. You never dropped me any.
Oh,
Remember that one
sick.
time?
I thought you said you found more. You drank them, didn't you?
I found one. I drank it.
Unbelievable. Tommy Raptor, thank you so much for the $1.11, my man. I appreciate it, bro.
Wow. Wow. I didn't realize that one shot was
Oh,
gonna
right
go
here?
Right here in front of us.
Yep.
I'm gonna shoot your ankles.
Oh, hold on. No, dance for him.
Yeah, wait. No, don't kill.
Kenny, he's gonna finish me. Kenny, I swear. Kenny? Oh my god. Oh.
Hey guys, he's over here. He's over here. Come look. Dude, you really can't be dying to those kind of guys, you know?
Hey man, listen, I thought I could troll him a little bit. Alright.
Sniper Bloom confirmed, right?
Sniper
Where's my-
Bloom confirmed.
On its way. It's about 15 years to
LMAO.
freaking box it.
Where's the med kit? You picked it up, didn't you?
Outside.
You're not. I was gonna say you were not about to drink that.
You wanna bet me?
Don't do it.
You wanna bet?
Kenny, don't do it.
I can't.
Oh, yeah,
if
you literally
I
can't?
tried.
What did I just watch? Kenny almost choking.
Minecraft. I'm dying. Oh, the beautiful balcony we have here.
All right.
Oh, building behind us. We got a couple of gamers.
All right.
Oh, they're getting shot at by someone on the roof. Oh, and there's more gamers.
I think it's time we show. I think it's time we show these gamers who really games. You know what I'm saying?
I'm gaming. Are you gaming? I'm convinced that the sniper has bloom. And on that bloom is just more bloom.
I don't know where this guy is.
Where the frick did this guy go? Oh, he's out here.
I can't see him. Oh no!
Oh,
Oh,
that's not the
wow!
play.
Oh my goodness! Oh, there's still a guy in here.
I want bloom. Doom, 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 doom.
He's in here?
It's my favorite. Oh, pizza's here.
He almost got me killed. Got many potions? You need them? Oh, the storm's coming, Kenny. Wait a minute, is that a jump pad? Kenny! We can go! We can live! Wait, did he say his pizza arrived? Oh no. Okay, no big deal. Kenny, place the floor. I need to place the campfire down. I can't heal you, Kenny. I'm so sorry. How far do I have to go? Oh god. Kenny, please come too. Okay, I'm just gonna build the jump pad and you come when you're ready. This is a Monka S moment right here, chat. No, you gotta be kidding me. I wasted the campfire. We actually won't be able to heal when I get out.
Tony, my life. Tony, you left me to die?
I built a jump pad!
What kind of Tony am I playing with? Oh my god.
I built a yeah, just jump pad.
Where? Where is it?
It's literally right outside. You'll see the giant ramp. I still have another campfire, so we should be alright.
Okay. I'm healing up, Tony. Heal.
Come on, man. Come on, Kenny.
I'm going. Oh my god, we're in China. Oh, dude, why is it so tall?
Because I want to make sure I can
Hey,
get
the
out.
storm. Oh yeah, I didn't see the storm when I got back, chat. Don't worry.
Welcome to the salty spittoon. How tough.
Yo, DJ Waffles
Gotta
just gifted his
go.
tier 1 sub to King of the Bears. DJ Waffles, thank you so much, man, for the support, brother. I appreciate it, my man.
I'm alive.
Thank you very much,
The
man.
guy, he gets. Okay, listen. All right, I'm not even mad. The guy gets my pizza, bro.
Yep,
Leaves the drinks in the car, so he has to walk back and get my drinks.
that's awesome. Does he know you're in the middle of
I'm
a
sitting
Fortnite
there,
game?
No, I didn't say anything. I was like, just been like, leave the drinks on the porch. Don't touch me. I'm sterile.
Why, Tony? Why? Why Tony do this? Wait, are you editing that wall right
And
now
I'm
too?
No, not. I can't.
I literally got brought to 98. Can't can't make that up.
That's unlucky, my dude.
I mean, I have another one. Is it worth the 2 HP? I don't know.
Nah. I have 2 jump pads?
You actually?
Hell yeah,
oh, that's
boy.
perfect. Wait, can I have one? Might as well drop them one, right? You both have one?
Nah, fine. I'll take
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Where are we going?
Oh, is that people
Oh,
right?
we got this guy right here.
Oh, yeah.
Hi.
Damn.
That guy's tagged. I don't know where this guy's teammate is. Oh, right behind us.
How tough are you?
How many times can a man do 25 damage? Hey, minis?
Yeah, no, I have minis. I'm fine. Oh, I'll pick them up then if that's what you mean.
I got a big shield. Big shield.
Oh, okay. I thought you were drinking it.
I was.
And you saved it for me?
know there's
Wow. DJ Waffles, thank you for gifting a sub to my bot. I appreciate it. Let's get some DJ Waffle hype in the chat, man. Thank you so much for your support, dude.
I don't know what I'm
Crazy.
doing. Put a jump pad up here.
Alright. You wasted our other one?
I don't know if it's wasted.
And
when I'm about to
Ice,
get
thank you
this
so much for your
shield
$2
up here.
donation, man. I'm not pronouncing your name. You're not funny. You're not my dad.
Aha, baby. Oh, who's there? Not you. I'm dead. You scared me. Ooh.
Ooh, wait a minute. I'll take that.
You got a campfire?
Yeah, I do. Why do you need one? You want to? Yeah, we'll just use the campfire,
This
right?
is muted. It's the greatest experience of my life.
Oh, my bad. I just put a campfire down. I just put a campfire down.
Oh, unbelievable, dude.
That's what you told me to do. Why are you mad? It's only game.
I asked you, and you're like, no answer for you.
Ha. What? Why did I not edit? What the hell?
Frick.
Kenny, where we headed?
We're alive. 3 teams.
Yeah, something like that.
Headed probably into the zone. Might do the trick. Just might do the trick.
Whew. I missed a gold?
Yo, we need to find a. I got it. It was a gold shotgun.
Okay.
We need to find a. Oh, right here. There's a bush. All right, dude. Let's make a giant wood base and just sit outside in the bush. You
Wait.
see it?
No, well, we're wearing the worst outfits to hide in bushes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
You know? What'd you just say?
Damn it. Shoot. Remember?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Making sure. Yeah, we'd stand out like a sore thumb if we tried to hide in the bush right now.
Yeah.
Yo, are you excited for Modern Warfare Remastered? Modern Warfare 2 Remastered?
No. No.
What?
CODs suck.
What? Oh,
Remastered CODs suck.
where did that shots come from?
I don't know, dude. I heard it swing by my left ear cheek.
I'm trying to pinpoint. Oh, I see it. Should I hit one here? 195, right into the woods. Oh, get a shot from the side here too. Wait a minute, I don't think. Oh, there's another dude in the base right there.
I knocked one.
Okay,
yeah,
nice.
yeah. The guy right here, homie.
Yeah. That's gonna be all you. Oh, he came out back. Good stuff.
He's got a golden RPG if you want it.
Can you carry mini potions?
I have any. Yeah. I have 10 already.
That's fine. I'll just drop you my 8 for it. Literally right at the tree right here.
I still haven't seen him.
Right at this tree. I'm shooting at it right now.
Okay.
Yeah, running away now. Oh wait, where'd he go? I literally just missed him.
240. 2 trees in front of me. Oh, he's building now.
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna go over there and grab it. Grab the RPG. So that's all you for right now.
Welcome to the salty spittoon. How tough are
That
you?
was some bad
Yo,
aim.
thank you so
Oh,
much for the
shit.
new sponsor, my man. I appreciate that, bro. You're an absolute
That was some
god.
bad aim, chat.
Let's get some
That's
sponsor
bad.
hype in the chat from my man
One
Gobo.
team
Thank
left.
you so much, dude.
On me.
I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm still back with the RPG. Oh wait a minute.
Snipe one.
I can't see him right now. This is all you still. Get the one at the shed. I'll go for the one at the shed.
Dude, get the bloom off of my game. I'm done with it.
He's so weak, it's insane. I should get him. Here, hold on.
Like a
Here, hold on.
man.
Jump real quick. Jump. Wait, hold on. Do it one more time. Oh, shoot. Jump.
Yes! Oh, well. I was so happy for a second.
Can he say frick? Banned? Yeah, he did say frick. RIP's banned.
What? What'd I say?
You said frick.
Frick.
Yeah.
What's wrong with frick?
Frick, dude. Frick, frack, frickle, frack, my dude.
Dennis, are you hungry?
I am hungry. I'm actually gonna get off right now. That's what I'm feeling.
I'm eating a delicious pizza right now in my mouth.
How's it feel inside your mouth?
Can you hear it?
Unfortunately, I can.
That's good, dude. Oh.
That sounds so grody, dude.
Alright, man. GG's. Go get some food. What time you streaming in the morning? I might watch you. I'm going to bed.
I don't know. I'll probably start. I don't know if I'm gonna do a morning stream or if it's gonna be like a mid-afternoon stream. Kind of depends on when I wake up and what I'm feeling, you know.
Alright, see you mid-afternoon. I'll be sleeping. Good
All
luck.
right, sounds good. Bye, Kenny.
Later, Tater.
I love you.
Bye. GG's. Love you too.
All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. Appreciate all the love tonight. You guys were absolutely amazing once again. Thank you all so much. I'll be live again. I'm hoping to do tomorrow an exclusive stream only on Twitch. I really want to start diversifying. I know I don't give my Twitch channel enough love, so I'm gonna try to stream dedicated on Twitch, which is gonna be awesome. I said frick too. No, I didn't. I don't swear. Thank you guys all so much for coming out to the stream. I love all of you guys. Hopefully you all have an amazing day. Squads, exclamation point. Thank you very much for your $2 donation. Says, hey, pronounce my name real quick. Squads, exclamation point. Thank you so much for your donation. I appreciate it. Squads, exclamation point. Probably Billiard, honestly. I'm actually gonna check here real quick. It's definitely Billiard. He said you missed the donation, Gur. It was 100% Billiard. Squads, exclamation point. Go Bo, I got your sponsor. Enjoy your double coins and all your 15 custom emotes, man. Thank you all so much for the support. That was a Billiard donation, yep. Was 100%. All right, guys, I'm heading out. Thank you very much for coming by. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until next time, everybody, keep gaming. And as always, stay cool. Adios.